Hello and welcome to the Irish Mommy channel. I'm just trying to empty out my propagator here in the middle of another video. I'm trying to make room for all my, trying to see if you can see them, squash that I've sown there. But as usual the propagator's chocker blocked, so I said before I take some things out I'm just going to do a quick tour of it and maybe upload a bonus video for you all. So I already have all my tomatoes planted on and they're in a different greenhouse up beside my polytunnel, but I still have one tray of tomato plants here. So these are ones that were teeny tiny plants when I was potting on the rest of them, and I have different varieties in this, and the plan for this is to actually give it to a friend who hasn't got tomatoes sown themselves, and there's a couple of different varieties there. So 6 of them are a variety called Tolek, and you can see one of them there did not come on at all, so I was very ambitious when I planted that one. So Tolek is one of the new varieties that I've tried. I think I done it last year but lost track of where it was actually planted. It came from the Garden Seed Market, which is a European, possibly based in Poland, company. And then the next few then are, so there's Roma VF, so that's a plum variety, good for cooking. And I actually think these 3 along the second row and this one is the Roma VF, I'm almost sure. I could be wrong on that, I've already lost track of what they are. And then we have citrus grape, but it seems to be eaten. So I guess I have a slug in there somewhere. We also have Cherola, so that's a cherry variety. And yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4 different varieties. The citrus grape is not looking so hot. But I have seen tomatoes do stranger things. There's still a chance that that might come back yet. I'm going to have to go hunting for a slug when I'm going through this here as well. And maybe just put down some bait to be on the safe side. So back to the propagator, and we have Greek basil. So this Greek basil got too hot one day and dried out terribly. Most of it came back, but I see some of it's just not so hectic. Very hard to control the temperature in the propagator in the position that I have it, so I keep mine in the greenhouse, and obviously the reason I do that is because the plants can get natural light, even though this is a lighted propagator. But then what happens is, so it's already double insulated between the propagator and the greenhouse, and then the sun comes out and it really pushes the temperature up if it's anywhere warm at all. So I'm full time out trying to open these wee vents here on the side, and there's vents on the lids as well. But it is definitely harder to control the temperature when you have it in these conditions in a greenhouse. I suppose ideally indoors would be a good spot for a propagator, but I don't really have the space indoors, and too many little fingers could get involved in helping with the propagator if it was indoors. So in the long run it's probably safer outdoors. But having said that, these have come bouncing back fairly well. I've lost a couple of cells there, but I'll still get plenty of plants out of that yet. And these at the back are all the herbs that I sowed last week, the week before last maybe. I'm trying to think when I sowed them. No, it was only during the week last week, I'm almost sure. If I can find the date I'll put it on the screen. So I have thyme there, and you can see definitely some germination in that thyme row. Try and get you up closer. There we are, I think that's a bit better. So here's the thyme plants on the left there in that tray. That whole row is all thyme, and there's germination in every single cell. Yeah, every single cell. And next to it is rosemary. It's also starting to germinate as well. The next row is oregano, and I have plenty of that. I sowed that fairly thick, but I mean they're really tiny, teeny seeds, so it's hard to be sparse with the oregano seeds. Next we have sage, and again plenty of germination there as well. I have lime basil. I can see some very tiny little plants there just in those back cells. The ones at the front have not germinated yet, but they've started, so that's a good sign. Next we have flat leaf parsley, and there's small little bit of germination there as well, so that's promising. Next is my full tray of Genovese basil, so there's 20 cells in this tray. So if you watched my last video, you know that I have sown a mystery seed that I also think is basil, but like I said in that video, if it's not basil, I still have plenty coming on here, and definitely I want a big harvest of basil this year, so fingers crossed. So then on further, I sowed 2 types of mint in this tray here, garden mint, and these were newer seeds, and I see very little germination there. The sun's coming out now, of course, and it's not going to cooperate with my camera, but I can see. So these 6 cells at the front are sown with the garden mint. Yeah, garden mint. So I see something there now. There's a slight possibility that it's weeds. Another one there as well, so I'm not sure which of those is mint, because they're definitely different seeds. That one's more likely to be mint than this one at the back. Then the back 6 cells are Egyptian mint. Now Egyptian mint is a lovely big leaved mint, nice and thick leaved, almost like maybe fur you'd describe it as when it gets mature. Very fluffy leaf, and good for presentation, and of course blending up in things as well. Now I certainly won't be using all these plants that I've sown. Well, I will with the basil, but as for all these sage and thyme and all these, 1 plant or 2 plants of each is enough for me. And in some cases I already have these plants growing where they're perennial plants that I might not even need any, but I like to bring these 2 plant swaps, and I've spoken before about our DIY group. Sometimes we have plant sales, so they'll come in handy for that, and gifting to other gardening friends as well, of course. I just enjoy, I get a bit of a kick out of growing seeds. So my next one is a full tray of flat leaf parsley, no, curly parsley, sorry, the moss curled parsley variety. Even though it doesn't look very curly yet, but I'm sure as it gets more mature it will be. So that's full 12 cells, and many of them have, not all of the cells have germinated, but many of the cells have 2 or 3 and even 4 plants in them, so I'm definitely getting lots of flat leaf parsley. Over here I nearly skipped over, I have cucumbers sown. So I've sown a variety La Diva, and I think these were included in a video before. Honestly can't remember from one day to the next what I've done in a video and what I've not. But you can see there 1 germinated at the back and 1 ready to pop up there at the front, and the other pot I have, oh where are we, there we are, I have 1 ready to come up, so I'm assuming I sowed 2 seeds per pot here. And since I have 2 there, I will be keeping an eye on that now during the week and trying to get them separated out so that I'll hopefully have 3 plants, but I'll definitely take 1 of those out from the pot because they are very similar to the squash and the same family, of course, as squash and pumpkins, and heavy feeders, and will turn into a big plant very quickly. So I will be trying to get that out of the pot as soon as possible, but I have to wait for it to fully emerge first. My next tray here is another 12 cell tray of dill, and I've had spotty enough germination, but for the most part I think I have dill in every cell bar 2, so 10 potential plants, and I'm sure like a lot of them I have multiple plants in some of those cells. And here at the very front that I can't see very well, so I'm going to take it out. I have 6 cell tray of peppermint, and that's fairly thickly sown, so I've had great germination with that. Let me zoom that out a little bit now because it's a bit full on. So all the mints grown this year: garden mint, peppermint, and Egyptian mint. I suppose the only one I'm missing is spearmint, but I might pick up a plant of that in the garden centre. That's the beauty of herbs, you can usually find them fairly often in the garden centre, fairly easily, and fairly cheap as well in the garden centre. And I like to visit garden centres as well, and sure, that's an excuse to go now. Next is French beans, dwarf French beans in particular, and this variety is called Processor. I have 2 of these 12 cell trays. So if you remember in my strawberry video, I was debating what to plant in the rest of the bed, and I said I would probably do dwarf green beans. So that's the dwarf green bean plants now, and they're probably ready for planting, honestly, in the next week or so. I don't want them getting too tall. They're, again, hungry plants, and a legume which I normally sow in deeper trays. So because these aren't deep trays, because you know, I'm very limited for space here, and the only deep celled trays I have are those big, I think they're 84 cell trays or 96 cell trays. Too big for the propagator, I have no room for anything else. So I cheated and planted them in these. Now they're still relatively deep, but I will be trying to get them out as soon as possible so that they don't get starved for nutrition. And again, I would have planted those in potting soil rather than seed compost, because they are hungry plants. And you can see they're nice and deep green, so they're definitely not starved of nutrition at the minute. But if they were to be left much longer, if they were to be left longer than another week, I'd say we would start to see yellowing of the plants, where they'd be hungry. So then next you can see my sweet corn that I have soaking there, ready for sowing later on this evening. My next tray, I have, my tumbling tom tomatoes. So you can't even see there, I'm not a great camera woman. So in the first 4 cells here, I sowed garlic chives. Again, these were old seeds, and I have 0 germination. There is something germinating, but it's not chives. And you can still see the seeds clearly there on the top that they haven't germinated. So allium seeds, any member of the onion family, are best definitely sown fresh. Maybe 12 to 18 months you might get still fairly good germination, but that's it. I'd say after 18 months germination is ridiculous, if not 0. So these are 6 cells of tumbling tom tomatoes, a variety very suitable for a hanging basket, and that is precisely why I've sown them. Again, I've talked about maybe doing plant swaps and plant sales. Not everyone has a greenhouse, and I'm very much aware of how lucky I am to have one, much less a polytunnel. And so a possibility for growing tomatoes. Tomatoes do not grow outdoors very well here in Ireland. But there is a chance, if we had a hot summer, of getting a cherry variety in a hanging basket. Now, in particular, a micro dwarf variety it's called, which tumbling tom is one. Does really well in a hanging basket in a sunny area, or if you had a very, very sunny conservatory, it'd also do well in that as well. But again, very important to keep them fed. I think that's something a lot of inexperienced gardeners don't realise, is how much feed tomatoes need. A high potash feed every 2 weeks once they start to flower, and that'll keep them producing then for months on end, really. Especially if you had a plant indoors in a conservatory, I'd almost imagine it'd go through the winter for you, even if you were keeping your space heated over the winter. And then I think the last thing I have to show you is my leeks. This will be my second crop of leeks. So the last video I done, I was planting out leeks. They were for potentially my summer leeks, And this is a variety called Giant d'Inverno, very Francais there. So these are a huge big leek and a very sturdy leek, as you can imagine, because they're that much bigger. And these will be a great overwintering leek when they grow on. Now, leeks are notoriously slow to grow and can take up to 20 weeks before they're ready to plant out. Technically they should be pencil thickness when you plant them out. I never have the patience to wait that long, but for this second variety, the later variety, I'm certainly happy to let it grow on to that thickness, because it's very likely I won't have space for them until they're fairly big. So these will have to get separated out into individual cells probably soon enough. I'd say in the next 2 to 3 weeks. They're still quite wispy yet, so I'm not panicking, and I do think they'll hold up for another 2 to 3 weeks, but then I would want to be putting them out in individual cells and letting them grow on then in a good potting compost with plenty of nutrition, and probably feeding them as well occasionally, maybe every 3 weeks, with a good nitrogen rich and phosphorus rich food, just to keep them producing. So that's it. That's my heated propagator tour. You can see the thermometer over here on the side. I don't think it'll pick up the temperature at the minute, so the lid has been off for quite a while. I don't think you can see that on the camera, but I'd say it's roughly at 18 degrees. The numbers aren't showing up on it properly either, but I have it set at 18 degrees, so hopefully it's around 18 degrees. And the door of the greenhouse is open too, so that'll help cool it down. So that's just a quick tour of the propagator. I decided it was too much to be putting into another video, so it'll get its own little video. And I suppose it's a progress update as well. So thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I really would appreciate your support. It helps spur me on to make more videos as well. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.